Does Sonny honestly believe he can cross this unforgivable line in the sand and still call himself the ultimate protector of his bloodline? Are we really supposed to sit back and watch a man who has spent decades building an untouchable empire suddenly bend the knee to the very monster who has been terrorizing this town? If you ask me, the idea that Sonny might actually be the architect behind Jen's escaping from his cell is not just shocking, it is a complete betrayal of everything the mob boss stands for. But what if he has absolutely no choice? What if the man pulling the strings has found the one vulnerability that could force the great kingpin to burn his own kingdom to the ground? We are looking at a scenario that challenges the sanity and morality of a man who has always played by his own twisted code, and ladies, I am here to tell you that this upcoming storyline might just break our hearts in ways we never imagined. I have been turning this completely brand new theory over and over in my mind, and guys, if this plays out the way I suspect it might, it could turn the entire landscape of our beloved show completely upside down. We all know that Jens is not the kind of man to just sit in a jail cell and hope for a lucky break. He is a master of the manipulative scheme, a villain who operates 10 steps ahead of everyone else in the room. I do not think Jens is merely looking for a simple prison break or hoping a guard leaves the door unlocked. Instead, I believe he has orchestrated a far more ruthless and devastating plan to force Sonny to personally deliver his freedom on a silver platter. According to my theory, Jens has secretly managed to get a chilling message to Sonny, revealing a terrifying truth. Christina is facing grave and immediate danger. In fact, Jens might not just be making empty threats from behind bars. What if he has already ordered his extensive, shadowy network of loyal henchmen to kidnap Christina right from the very school where she is studying? Just imagine the sheer terror of that moment. Christina, going about her day, completely unaware that she has become the ultimate pawn in a deadly game of chess between two ruthless titans. This would be a direct, vicious strike at Sonny's greatest weakness, his unwavering, blinding love for his children. Jens knows exactly how to hit where it hurts the most. He is employing a cowardly, underhanded tactic because he understands that a direct confrontation with Sonny usually ends in a body bag. By snatching Christina, Jens is exploiting the vicious cycle of violence and retaliation that has defined Sonny's life for decades. Jens knows that Sonny would gladly lay down his own life, sacrifice his immense wealth, and surrender his vast territories without a second thought, but he would never, ever gamble with the life of his daughter. It is the ultimate checkmate, designed to paralyze the most powerful man in town. Initially, we might expect Sonny to try and pull some legal strings, perhaps calling in every high-powered favor he has to get Jens transferred or released on a technicality. He has the money and the lawyers to make almost anything happen. But let us be real, ladies. The mountain of evidence against Jens is far too massive. There is no legal loophole big enough for him to slip through this time. Therefore, Jens will issue one singular, non-negotiable demand. Sonny must orchestrate a full-blown, highly coordinated prison break using his own mob resources. In exchange for his freedom, Jens will promise that the exact second he breathes free air and is safely out of police jurisdiction, he will give the order to release Christina completely unharmed. He will vow that his organization will never touch her again, provided Sonny plays his part perfectly. This creates an unholy alliance born out of pure, suffocating desperation. It is a highly volatile and dangerous agreement, but for a terrified father like Sonny, it might be the only glimmer of hope to bring his little girl home alive before it is too late. This is where the domino effect truly begins to topple everything in its path, destroying lives and relationships along the way. Let us look at the agonizing paradox this creates for Sonny. For decades, he has sat at the head of a massive criminal empire. He has made countless enemies not just in our town but across the West Coast and within various international syndicates. Sonny is acutely aware that if all these rival factions were to suddenly unite, sensing his vulnerability, no army of bodyguards would be enough to protect his loved ones from the incoming slaughter. Because of this terrifying reality, Sonny is forced to consider the unthinkable, aiding and abetting his most dangerous adversary just to secure Christina. But the most gripping and heartbreaking part of this theory is the absolute isolation Sonny will face. He cannot breathe a single word of this nightmare to anyone. He cannot run to Alexis and tell her that their daughter has been taken by a maniac. Can you imagine the sheer panic, the tears, and the absolute fury Alexis would unleash? But if she makes a wrong move, or if her panic draws unwanted attention, the kidnappers might execute Christina instantly. Furthermore, Sonny is completely cut off from the police. He cannot quietly ask Dante for help, nor can he seek out Anna for a covert rescue mission. Jens will undoubtedly make it crystal clear that if the authorities catch even a whisper of this kidnapping, Christina will pay the ultimate price. Sonny must operate entirely in the shadows, carrying the crushing, suffocating weight of this secret entirely alone, knowing that one wrong step will result in his daughter's death. To the outside world, and even to his closest allies, Sonny's actions will look like absolute madness. People will start to whisper in the corners of the hospital and the local restaurants. They will think he has lost his edge, that he is spiraling out of control, or worse, that he is willingly collaborating with Jens for some dark, selfish financial gain. His trusted enforcers might begin to question his leadership, wondering why their boss is suddenly protecting a man they are supposed to destroy. But in reality, every calculated, desperate move he makes is solely to save his daughter's life without tipping off the enemy. If we examine the broader impact on this legacy family, the potential destruction is nothing short of catastrophic. Think about what happens when the dust finally settles and the truth inevitably comes out. Let us say Sonny actually succeeds. He breaks Jens out, the guards are bypassed, and Christina is returned home physically unharmed. When Alexis inevitably discovers that Sonny kept her completely in the dark while their child's life hung in the balance, the betrayal will fracture their dynamic forever. Alexis will never forgive him for playing God with her daughter's fate, even if he did it to save her life. And what about Dante? As a dedicated, sharp-minded detective, Dante will be relentlessly investigating Jens's miraculous and impossible escape. Imagine the devastating, gut-wrenching moment when Dante follows the forensic breadcrumbs, interrogates the witnesses, and realizes that his own father was the mastermind behind the breakout. The conflict between Dante's sworn badge and his blood will tear him apart. It is a domino effect of broken trust that will ripple through every single relationship Sonny has fought so incredibly hard to maintain over the years. But let us flip the script for a moment, because in the world of daytime drama, things are rarely as straightforward as a simple hostage exchange. We have to look deeper. What if Jens has a hidden agenda that goes far beyond simply walking out of a prison cell? What if he never actually intends to let Christina go? Once Jens is free and has the upper hand, what is stopping him from keeping Christina as a permanent human shield to ensure his long-term survival? He could easily drag her out of the country, locking her away in some remote, heavily guarded compound, using her as perpetual leverage to ensure Sonny never, ever comes after him again. Jens is not a man of his word. He is a survivor who thrives on the pain of others. If he realizes that holding Christina gives him absolute power over the biggest mob boss in the territory, why would he ever give up that golden ticket? If that tragic scenario happens, Sonny's agonizing sacrifice will have been for absolutely nothing. He will have unleashed a monster back into the world, betrayed his own son, alienated his family, and still lost his daughter in the process. The psychological trauma for Christina, knowing her father was forced to compromise everything he stands for, only to be betrayed and left in captivity, would be a storyline of epic, tragic proportions. It transforms a mere prison break into the most painful, soul-crushing decision of Sonny's entire life. We are looking at a narrative that forces a powerful, untouchable man to strip away all his armor and face his absolute worst nightmare with no backup and no safety net. If this theory comes to pass, it will not just be a controversial twist to boost ratings, it will be a defining, monumental moment that alters the fabric of the show forever. The question remains, hanging heavily in the air as we wait for the next episode. If Sonny crosses this line, betrays his code, and shatters the law to save his little girl, will anyone be left standing by his side to forgive him when the smoke finally clears?